Hey guys, I'm Jax, and this is my spoiler review for Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 4. So Episode 4 is an insane, hilarious, bizarre, mixed bag for me. I didn't really love the first three. I have a lot of issues, but this episode had elements I loved and elements that I just found bizarre and insane, and I just had so many questions. Like, to start off with, the episode opens and Obi-Wan Kenobi is in a Bacta tank, and so is Anakin, and they're Bacta tank buddies, and we get this great scene of him being like, oh, I'm in the Bacta tank, and he's having flashbacks to the duel, to the fight, and Anakin's also in a Bacta tank, and I found that scene really fun. Like, that was one of the first scenes in this whole show where I was like, oh, I really like what they're doing. I really like how they're presenting this. They're cutting between them, and they're both kind of reminiscing on this fight, and they're both in Bacta tanks healing, and I found that really, really fun. But then, it didn't follow that scene with a Bacta tank flashback, you know, like a la like Boba Fett. They didn't use that filmic device that Boba Fett created where in the Bacta tank we go, flashback baby. There was no Clone Wars flashback. Like, I would have loved the idea of Obi-Wan, he's in the Bacta tank, he's all like, oh, and then Anakin's in the Bacta tank because he's always in a Bacta tank, and they're both healing from burn wounds. And then we take that Boba Fett, which could just be the Disney Star Wars TV show, you know, filmic device for flashbacks, and take both these two characters who have been fighting and dueling and utilize Hayden Christensen, which I feel like they're not utilizing properly. You have him back. Where are my Clone Wars flashbacks? I want to see them as friends in the Clone Wars, and I think that would have been the perfect moment. I don't want the whole episode to be it, but I kind of thought maybe it was going to be, because like, this is the perfect time to do it. You do this, and then you have 2 more episodes where they come back together, and there's a big fight and a duel, and you know, all the emotions are back, and we get reminded of that time they were friends. So I think that's the biggest wasted opportunity of this episode, and I kind of feel like there's no other like moment that's going to work to have that flashback, to have that moment during the Clone Wars. So I think that's a huge wasted opportunity. So that really annoyed me. No Clone Wars flashback via Bacta tank flashback memory trip down memory lane. Just absolutely devastating. Why does this show hate me? Why does this show not want to give us this? I do not understand it. It is baffling and insane. But whatever, because this episode gave us, you know, some crazy moments like Obi-Wan just drowning and murdering a bunch of Stormtroopers via drowning. At first, we get a bit of an off-screen kind of drowning where we don't really see what happens, but then we see the Stormtrooper. He's just drowned the shit out of that guy. I love it. I love that stuff. We get a bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber dueling, which was fine. I still feel like this action in this show is a bit kind of like oddly stilted and slow in a weird way where I almost can't really put my words to describe exactly what it is, but there's something a bit stilted. Like, I think the big one that comes to mind is when, you know, the Queen of the Sand Snakes, Mrs. I'm a rebel but I'm an Empire lady, you know, the chick from Game of Thrones, she has a fight scene where she grabs the gun and shoots 2 Stormtroopers, and one of the Stormtroopers just kind of lunges at her. He doesn't go for a gun, or it's like, what is going on? Like, I don't know, some weird action, but I loved, probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole show so far was when they're in the aquarium part of the thing where, you know, I mean, I guess the whole place is a big aquarium because they're underwater and stuff. Also, the Inquisitor's home. Very Azkaban, in the middle of the ocean, just all alone. I totally dig that. It's like a really cool vibe. So they're going through in this aquarium-esque part, and he's holding the water back while doing his lightsaber thing to stop them as they're coming through. That was like a really fun, interesting sequence. He was having to do 2 things at once. He's like, go save yourselves. And then we got this amazing scene where she's like, run, Kenobi, run! And he's running to get through as they close the doors. And you're like, oh my God, is Kenobi, the character we know is going to survive? Is he going to survive, or will he drown in a great sacrifice? Speaking of, I think this whole episode's main issue is that they're going to try and save Leia. How's it going to end up? Well, we know that they save Leia, so let me take a wild stab in the dark and presume that they save Leia, and guess what happens at the end of this episode? Wild stuff. They save Leia, and they all survive. I mean, I guess Queen Sandsnake Lady, she could probably have died. I think that would have been kind of interesting. I thought it would have been interesting last episode if she sacrificed herself to Obi-Wan to like escape as she's shooting Vader and stuff. Oh, also, let's get to Vader for a second. So last week ended with my least favorite moment of the series so far, and I can't imagine they'll actually top it with poor kind of writing and decision making, because it really just baffled and annoyed me. Vader's got the fires going off, and Vader's like, Obi-Wan's just across that 5 meter of fire. We better get him. And then Vader's just like, actually, you know what? I've been waiting 10 years. I can wait 10 more. It's fine. Just let him go. We'll totally catch him. Of course, they won't catch him straight away, because otherwise he would have just caught him, you know. And it just felt very weird and bizarre. It just felt like Vader let him go because the story had to let him go. There felt like there was no in-story kind of reasoning that made sense. And immediately I'm like, oh, wouldn't it have been so great if Mrs. Queen Sand Snake Lady was like shooting, and he's like, stops her, and he's like, gonna stop her, and you're like, oh, she's not enough, she won't be able to stop him. And then maybe like 2 ships fly down, maybe the ship that they were gonna get onto flies down and starts blasting fire, or maybe a bunch of rebels, but like, you know, a big strong force kind of comes, it starts killing all the stormtroopers, and Vader's having to fend that off. He's trying to kill her, he's looking at Obi-Wan, he's trying to figure out which of the 3 things he's gonna get. He pushes the fire away, because, you know, he force pushed the fire and dissipated it, you know, before, so he does that again. He tries to get to Obi-Wan, but the ship, it's shooting the things, and he's trying to defend, and he's trying to, you know, do his Sith sword fighty things, but he can't because the ship's just too powerful. She's shooting at him. It's a confusing mess of a scene, and, you know, he's just kind of, you know, maybe he gets shot a couple of times. I hope we're going to get this in, you know, their final battle, but it would have been great to see, like, the mask kind of shatter for a bit, and then you see Hayden Christensen there under the mask, you know, utilize the actor that you've got. We're all here to see him. The costume's amazing, but I want to see him with the costume. So the ship has been shooting stuff and doing all this kind of cool stuff, and then he's like overwhelmed by the situation, and so Obi-Wan escapes, and he's like, dang, I've waited 10 years and I almost had him, you know, because people are like, he's out for the hunt. He just loves to stalk his prey and stuff. Kind of, I guess, but in A New Hope, Obi-Wan essentially puts up his sword and essentially surrenders. He's like, I won't fight anymore. You can strike me down if you want, Vader. And Vader's like, yeah, for sure. Bang! Strikes down. He's not like, maybe in 10 years, Kenobi, I'll fight you again. So it just kind of felt a bit weird. And then the most insane, crazy thing that could possibly happen is the exact same situation happens where Reva's like, Kenobi, I saw the little child under your cloak. I see that there's 4 legs, but there's 2, so it's you. You're hiding the little girl there. Worst hiding spot ever. I'm baffled by that decision by Obi-Wan. And just, I don't understand what's going on. It's insane. So many stormtroopers walk past them, and we're like, that looks like a normal body part at the Sure. Maybe they thought he was some kind of crazy alien who has 4 legs, and they're like, yeah, hey, I got pulled up by HR last time I mentioned someone's leg, so I'm not touching that. Also, Leia at one point, like, opens the cloak and goes, it's me under here, just in case you couldn't see the 4 feet, and we're like, what's up with Obi-Wan's feet? It's me. I don't know what she was doing. Why was she peeking? It's a very tense, serious situation. It just felt like it was like for the audience to be like, it's her. Just remember, it's her. That we know, show. We know Obi-Wan Kenobi, the television series. What are you doing? What? Oh. So in this episode, at the end of the episode, they are in the exact same situation as last week, but instead of Vader, it's Reva. And Obi-Wan's there, and she's like, I'm gonna capture you, Obi-Wan, you can't possibly escape. But of course he has to escape because, you know, he survives and more episodes have to happen. And, you know, he has to survive because of plot and story and, you know, things and whatever. She can't capture him right now, I guess. It would be weird if this episode was like, we gotta capture Leia. Oh, what's gonna happen to Leia? Well, she'll probably be saved. Episode 5, actually Obi-Wan also got captured. We've got to save Obi-Wan. What could possibly happen? What will be the outcome of this situation? Well, they'll save him, obviously. So it makes sense that he's going to escape. But at least when Reva's like, you know, trying to, you know, stop him, 2 bloody, you know, things from Hoth, the ships from Hoth, and they're like, bang, 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 and they shoot up the place. It's great. It's explosive. It's madness. Stormtroopers are dying and flying everywhere. I love a good stormtrooper dying. So much fun. And they're just dying everywhere. And Reva's trying to fight off the ship. But, you know, a ship's blaster bolts are, like, intense. And she can't really do it. And I love that bit where she's like, oh, how dare you. And, you know, she's shaking her fist. And it reminded me of when Vader at the end of Rogue One just stands there. He's like, I might try and do something about that ship leaving with the Force. But it has to make it to a New Hope, so I can't shake fist angrily. But she's like, no, one of these guys can die. Picks up a rock or like I don't know, like a thingy, you saw it. And she just force hurls it and smashes the ship and kills that guy. Wade. R.I.P. Wade. For the rebellion. But yeah, I loved all of that. That was really great. But then it suddenly just like dawned on me as I'm watching as well. I'm just like, why couldn't you have done that for Vader? For Vader letting Obi-Wan escape. And it's like, I know, I've heard so many people over the week kind of come with their own headcanon of like, why Vader let him escape. He's like, oh, he likes the hunt, he likes this and that. I just don't buy it. Like, I just wanted a situation where Vader would be stopped from like pursuing Obi-Wan, where you're like, well, maybe he like kind of, you know, did a bit. But he essentially just goes, oh, this fire's a bit much. You just force push some fire, mate! Okay, I actually kind of had fun with this episode also. I'll give you a little hint, a little sneak peek behind the curtain. The reason why I didn't loathe this episode, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of fun, it's a bit of whatever. But the last 3 episodes, I've kind of just been like, oh, it's just really frustrating me. It's really annoying me that I'm not loving this. It's not the show I want it to be, and so many elements are annoying me, and a lot of elements annoyed me in this episode, but I chose to embrace the show and just have fun with it. And you know, I can have fun with the bits I didn't like, but have fun with the bits I did love, and not be so negative. But the real secret was that, you know, I was kind of like, maybe I'll have 2 or 3 drinks before the episode. Maybe I'm excited that I have a day off tomorrow. Maybe it's a combination of things. I've got the weekend off as well. I'm excited for the days to come. Boys, episode 4 of season 3 is coming out on Friday. I'm very excited for that. I'm just choosing to be positive this week. It's probably mostly the 3 to 4, maybe 5 drinks. So yeah, if anyone's on the fence about trying to enjoy Obi-Wan Kenobi, my hint is, have a beer. Or 10. What were some other crazy bits that happened? Almost too many to name. But another bit that I found kind of hilarious and awesome, and I liked how it was like, oh, it's all dark. Lightsaber, stab! And then he disappeared when the lightsaber turned off. You know, like he's illuminating the scene, and then go, look, oh, he's over there! Kind of, he's like a horror monster Obi-Wan when he's killing those 2 stormtroopers who have Leia, like, you know, imprisoned. But also, he like hits a stormtrooper, then like cuts him. But instead of like cutting him in half or something with the lightsaber, it like does a little graze cut, and it seemed to kill him. But I was under the impression that this armor it's almost more of a uniform than armor. So many times they're just like, bang, 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 shooty, shooty, and they get killed by 1 hit, and they're like, oh no, I'm dead. You know, so it's like, I imagined a lightsaber cutting through would go whoosh, right through, and you know, we'd be tearing them apart and stuff. Whereas no, it more appears that the armor is quite strong, because he killed them, but it didn't go through, so, I don't know. Is this a retcon? Is this another word? Is this bad lore or something? Or is it just, am I just wrong about Stormtrooper armor? Who cares, really? But yeah, it was just something I noted. Another scene I absolutely loved was Leia's getting tortured by Reva, and she's doing all the things, and she's like, I'll torture you, Leia, and Leia's like, I won't say anything. I hate you. And, you know, doing all that acting stuff. Also, a little bit awkward when the 10-year-old's out acting the adult, but I don't know, maybe I'm just on Leia's side. Maybe I'm biased, but it was a bit like, a bit awkward there. But, I mean, you know, that being said, I kind of think this is Reva's best episode. You know, she had less kind of moments where I just kind of was like, I don't like her acting choices as much in, you know, in previous episodes. There was a couple of lines where I feel like, I don't know what it is. It's with all of the Inquisitors. Like, we didn't really get much of Dome Boy Inquisitor, but he had like 1 line in this episode, and I was like, it's just not working for me. It's so heightened and over the top, but not in like a fun way. It feels like, I don't know, just really oddly high school, and yeah, it just makes me kind of go like, I'm not like scared of them. I don't know. I don't know. They're just really not working for me. As she's torturing Leia and doing a little, you know, tell me where the path is, or whatever the hell she's saying. You know, give me the thingy or whatever. You know, Obi-Wan walks through this insane area where everyone's in this, like, I don't know, this orange, gooey tomb stuff. And he's like, it's not a fortress. It's a tomb. Love it. Peak dialogue. Probably my favorite line in the whole show so far. Hilarious. Almost got, like, a bit of a chill, like a bit of a goosebumps on the goosebumps kind of situation. Because I'm like, oh my god. Like, at first I thought they were all encased in kind of amber or something, you know, and they were kind of being, like, you know, like they were kept in stasis or something like that, where they're being kept alive in this kind of horrible way. But I love the idea they went around and just killed a bunch of Jedi. I mean, I'm presuming they're Jedi. They didn't say that, I don't think. Maybe I'm just presuming that. Presumptuous me, but I think they were Jedi. I think that makes it more terrifying and scary. But I like the idea they killed all these Jedi and they're just like, we're going to encase them in this horrifying hallway of just doom and desolation and horror. And The bit that I couldn't get over was there was even younglings, and just Obi-Wan seeing that youngling, he's like, no, Anakin, he killed even the younglings. And it was just like, there's even a youngling with his little training youngling hat on. It's a reference! It's a reference to the thing you like! Or you know of, if you're not a prequels guy. I feel like everyone up to date in this show who's loving it, they're prequels guys. I'm a prequels guy. Love that shit. Love that hat. Mwah. I heard during the week that season 2 might be in development. I'm like, oh, okay. Fantastic to hear that they didn't have a tight, concise, beginning, middle, end, just story, like a Kenobi story to tell us. And there's no room for anything else. It's going to start, it's going to middle, and then it's going to end satisfyingly. But throughout these 4 episodes, I feel like I'm getting to the point where like, okay, maybe we could have a couple of seasons. Maybe you could kind of figure out what worked and what didn't work in this show, and maybe season 2 could be spectacular. Maybe you could give us some goddamn Clone Wars flashbacks. I mean, you have Anakin, you have Hayden back. Where are the flashbacks? It shouldn't annoy me as much. I could just watch Clone Wars, but they're animated. I want to see our actual live-action Star Wars buddies. We got some back-to-tank buddy situation going on, but I want flashbacks. I want flashbacks. I'll be so disappointed if there are flashbacks. Oh! I mean, it doesn't make and break the show, but maybe it does. Maybe it does. It is endlessly hilarious to me that they got in so quickly. Queen Sandsnake from Game of Thrones, she's like, I'm back. You didn't know that I'm a rebel, so my Empire code has worked. And she just gets in there, easy peasy. But I also love that Reva's like, hey, you said this thing, but actually, maybe you're lying. Maybe you can sense it with my force, my Sith force powers. Maybe I can tell that you're lying. But then she's like, oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi's here. Just, I don't know, let 2 unarmed stormtroopers who are idiots take her. It doesn't matter. I'm going to chase Obi-Wan. And then, she gets out with the worst action beat of all time. But I don't know. Just, they got in there so easily, but at least they were discovered and they didn't, sneak out easily. So I guess that's something. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what everyone thought of episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Was everyone like, big yays? I also had 1 to 7 to 10 beers while watching, so I loved it. Or were you like, still not working for me? I'd be super curious to know. It's definitely not the show I wanted it to be, but it's a show and I'm watching it, and that's something.